Come on, everybody. It's that Tyll.
It is the Tyll Show, live on Starcom Radio Network. Heather Havenwood joins us on the best marketing strategies for 2017. Hi, Heather. How are you?
Hey, Ed. How are you?
Great. Well, we had a little technical problem, so we didn't get to you exactly on time, but I'm so glad you're with us today. Women businesses have a unique set of challenges. Could we lay out some of what those are and how maybe we can turn adversity into an advantage?
Absolutely. You know, one of the things that I find that women business owners have a hard time is what I call inviting themselves to the party. What does that mean? So even in radio or podcasting or any kind of media, they're kind of knocking on the door and saying, hey, you have a party, I have a party, I have value here that I want to add to it. It's kind of a counterintuitive action that a lot of women business owners have a hard time with. They're taught at a young age, I know I was, to sit back and go, don't invite yourself to the party, honey. You got to wait to be invited to the party. And so it's that assertiveness and aggressiveness, I think, that is a counterintuitive measure that women business owners have to overcome. But it's also an opportunity because nowadays with radio and podcasting and social media that we've really flattened the opportunity so they can reach out more and say, hey, you have something of value, I have something of value, how can we cross-promote and do business together, or just in a one-on-one sales environment. So I think there's a huge opportunity right now for women business owners to flip that counterintuitive piece and allow themselves to be assertive, but I don't even like that word, Ed. I really like the invite yourself to the party. You know, back in the day, Ed, and I know you know this, guys just show up with a hot chick and a beer and they're good to go at a party. They don't have to be invited. But, you know, right? You just show up with that and you're good to go. But girls have this, well, I wasn't invited. I don't want to show. You know,
what do I wear?
I think that, right? So, I mean, you know, back with the white snake, I mean, that was my day, right? I'm kind of an old school girl, but I think that's a huge opportunity.
Let's talk about what the challenges of marketing specifically are today and where women might have an advantage with that also. You know, this world of social media is so much more personal. You know, it's got so much more specificity than what marketing was, say, 25, 30 years ago. We're becoming specialists. It would seem to me women would be good at that.
Absolutely. Well, they like to have a conversation. I know with, like, right now I'm really big of the 2017 and beyond. I think podcasting and radio, I believe, is becoming a new resurgence in a way. And that's because it's a conversation. You know, you and I are just chatting, and they get to listen into our chit-chat. You know, be having a beer or a coffee. Right. And I think that's what women are good at. It's having the conversation and sharing about ourselves and sharing what we're doing versus what I call the old school, which is more aggressive and in-the-face selling. Right. So it's flipping that. The social share is about connecting and not the assertive in-your-face selling. So I think it's really the same thing, and women have an opportunity to allow themselves to share what they are doing and showcase that versus feeling like they're selling. And that's Absolutely. The opportunity.
Wow. Great. The book is a very provocative title because you got to watch where you even use the word sexy today. But your book is entitled Sexy Boss: How Female Entrepreneurs Are Beating the Big Boys. What's the message of this book? Why did you write it?
Thanks for asking that. You know, you're right. I get either one or two responses like, wow, I love it, or like, how dare you put that, you know, so it's an interesting kind of psychology that comes up for people. The reason I wrote it, just to kind of put it quickly, is I was allowing myself to have a transformation, what I call from bankruptcy to sexy boss. And sexy boss to me is a woman who owns who they are in a feminine role. They don't feel like they have to be a man to win in business. And the boss piece is owning all areas of their life, mentally, physically, socially, health and wellness. It's all areas of their life. And so those two pieces together, I call a sexy boss. And you know, back in the day when a man walks in a room, we called him dapper and a 007, and he's sexy, you know.
Dashing.
And,
yeah, I like that.
Right?
One. Dashing.
Yeah. Dashing and
George Clooney and Mad Men and John Hamm and all these guys with the suits and the greasy hair. Absolutely. But that's good. That's no longer desirable, is it? We're not in that world anymore.
We're not, but yet women don't have the same. If a woman walked in the ring and we all turned their head, you'd have a snicker of calling her, a witch. And I really felt like I need to call that what it is. When a woman's confident in who she is as a woman, we call that, or I now call that, a sexy boss.
Excellent. Heather Havenwood, our guest, Ed Tyll Show, Starcom Radio Network. The book is called Sexy Boss, How Female Entrepreneurs Are Beating the Big Boys. The book is available on Amazon, and Heather's website is heatherhavenwood.com. So we hear a lot about this now, and I think you'll help us understand it even more. Failure used to be a bad thing. Failure now is known as it's just the pathway to success. It's good that you're failing because you're learning what were the shortcomings, what were the mistakes you incorporate. Let's talk about why failure is, for some people, the most important thing they need to learn about being an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. You don't tell an NFL player, don't go fail, ever. It's never going to happen. Don't ever go get hit.
Right.
When you're an NFL player, you get on the mat and you get hit, right? If you get in the field and get hit, if you're not getting hit, you're not playing. Same thing with entrepreneurship. Part of the game of being an entrepreneur is getting hit, learning literally how to get hit, because you're going to have things come at you. Part of learning being an NFL player is you literally learn how to get hit, right? So it's interesting in the entrepreneurship world, we don't teach that, and I think that's a key piece. And someone said to me once, and they said this to me at a very critical time in my life when I was literally at the bottom of my barrel, and he looked at me and goes, Heather, you've never given yourself permission to fail, and if you don't give yourself permission to fail, you're never going to give yourself permission to succeed. They go hand in hand, and I think that's the whole point.
Wow. And what is the connection there? What is supposed to happen that's good in failure? For people who are in failure right now and are regrouping, what should they try to derive out of it? What should be their takeaway?
I think their takeaway right now is understanding that through the failure, there's a learning process, right? So just, again, I like football because it's fun, right?
Right.
It's when you get hit, you're like, okay, I'm not going to do that again. There is literally a lesson in that. And someone said to me once, Heather, everything happens for the best, not for a reason. Don't ask your mind for the reason, because your mind will go round and round and round about that. But everything happens for the best. That means there's something else beyond what you see right now. And that's what I call the diamond in the rough of failure. But if you're not failing, which is kind of counterintuitive, if you're not failing in a weird way, you're not playing big enough, right? So, and it sounds counterintuitive, but it's so true. Just go back to sports. Ask anybody in any kind of sports. It's through the failure of something that they actually learn to grow and be the best.
All right. What would you identify as the one skill that every entrepreneur should learn today?
It's kind of going back to the same thing, but it's learning to understand that when you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have an up and down. And as long as you're focused on what you want and the clarity of what you want, you're on the right path.
Wow. And do you right?
That's too short.
No, not at all.
Short,
no, as a matter of fact, I'm taking it in now. So, what do you do with the failure that gnaws at you, and you're not quite sure why it failed, and you're trying to get to the bottom of it? What do you do? Do you press down on what you've done, or is it better to get outside, move on, get away from it, and then look back with more perspective?
Great question. I'll actually answer that question with a question that someone told me. And again, this was at a time when I lost everything. I was in Florida in 2006, and I got completely wiped out. Foreclosure, bankruptcy, all of it. Lived in my car. So I get what it's like to be what I call to your knees. You know what I mean? And I was sitting there in Florida, East Florida, and he said to me, a mentor of mine, he said, I want you to start asking yourself this question before you do anything. Does this feed my confusion or strengthen my clarity? Does it feed my confusion or strengthen my clarity? And the point of that question is that we don't make good decisions when we're in confusion or spinning or emotionally upset. It's through clarity and when we have power. And when we have power, we can make better decisions.
Wow.
So it might start really small. And I asked him, I go, well, I don't even know what to ask that question about. I don't have anything big going on. I'm broke. And he goes, ask yourself that question by what you're about to eat. Ask yourself that question before who talk to, and start to ask yourself with every little thing, and then it'll move to big things. And so now, even being on the show, Ed, I had to ask myself, does it feed my confusion or strengthen my clarity to be on this amazing Ed show? I make sure that it adds clarity to my life, then it adds clarity to you and your listeners, because if it doesn't, it just adds muck and chaos, and I don't want that.
Heather, questions are more helpful than answers sometimes,
I agree.
right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, when you start asking yourself a question, you'll know. And when he said that to me, of course, there was a relationship involved, and he said, well, ask yourself the question, does the relationship feature confusion or strengthen your clarity? And I knew the answer right then. I didn't really have to go any further, right? So it's in that you start to see a lot of things in your life become a lot clearer.
Got it. Well, if you have listeners today who are approaching college graduation, and they're not looking to sign up with a big company, they're looking to start their own thing, what would you say to them guidance-wise for how to begin and start a marketing strategy in 2017? If graduation is right down the road and they start preparing now, what words of wisdom would you impart to them? What kind of tips would you mention to them? Hey, kids, remember this, think of that.
Wow, that's a great question. Honestly, I would say being an entrepreneur is not an answer. It's a journey. It's not a destination. So if they're like, well, that looks hot, that looks sexy, that looks like what other people are doing, it doesn't mean that's the best thing for them. And so, being an entrepreneur, I would say, if that's something they really called to, it's a journey. There's nothing to get to. And I think that's kind of my answer. There is no place to get to. Okay, I know that you spent your whole life, kindergarten, you had to graduate, and then you got to graduate another 4 years, and you're constantly going to a destination. But in adulthood, it's all about the journey of what you're creating and what's up and what you're creating next. What's your legacy for? The destination's kind of done. That's what I would say. And I think the faster I got that lesson, the easier things became. I didn't focus so much on, well, if I do this, I have to succeed. It was like, well, I want to do that, and I'll see if it happens. It really allowed me to go after what I wanted in life versus having to be so perfect.
And right now, who's a good role model that you might point to? Sheryl Sandberg comes up a lot on the show. Her book, Lean In, kind of just took people over a few years ago. Who do you like young women to look up to, household name types, that, can give them some inspiration for exactly what we're talking about?
Well, that's a good question. Audrey Huffington, Huffington Post, she's phenomenal. I think that her story is pretty inspirational. I think someone that's in the limelight, but not as much as I think she should be, is Ivanka Trump, actually. I think she's a pretty powerful woman. She doesn't get a lot of focus because of her father, but I think that she really is a true role model of what it's like to be a businesswoman in today's world, with being a mother and whatnot. But Audrey Huffington and Huffington Post is truly an inspirational story.
Awesome. Listen, you're an inspirational story. When you get to the point where you're recognized and you've got awards and you've got all kinds of things going successfully for you, do you also have to keep your 360-degree peripheral vision going about what might still come and trip you up? Do you still have to practice kind of what you preach, no matter how much success you have?
Oh, yeah. Everything that I'm saying right now is literally coming from my soul. It's literally what I breathe. I don't really – it's funny you say that, Ed. I don't really consider myself a success or not a success anymore, which sounds weird. I know that I have goals and aspirations and things that I want to accomplish while I'm still here on this planet Earth, but I don't try to look for, well, then when I'm successful, then I'll be. It's in the creation of it. And it happened on accident, Ed, is that I was living in Marco Island where the average age is 85.
I know Marco Island. I do.
I mean, it is. They were in a different part of their life. They're 85. You know what I mean?
Right.
They have a different view. So I learned a lot. I sat and spent hours talking to people in their phase of life. And I realized the people that were happiest, the ones that weren't sick, that got to the island, all of a sudden it was just like all of a sudden they were sick, really fast.
Right.
They were the ones they were inventors, they were creators, they were entrepreneurs, and they didn't have the word retirement anywhere in their breath. It was just like they're just living.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. All the people I looked up to in broadcasting
Yeah.
used to say that. They go, when are you going to retire? They would go, never. What do you mean
Never,
retire?
yeah.
I'd rather just work right up at... And you say, man, aren't you looking forward to the promised land? And they would go, no, this is the promised land,
Yes.
being on the journey. Heather, great visit today. Thank you so much for the insight. Congratulations on all your success and on the book. The book is entitled Sexy Boss, How Female Entrepreneurs are Beating the Big Boys, available on Amazon. And Heather's website is heatherhavenwood.com. A real pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you, Ed.
You bet. Take care. Starcom Radio Network, AM/FM stations all across America.